third and final session of Elements of the Integral Yoga. Before we start, let's just step back for a couple of moments of silence. So greetings. Now, much was touched upon by Dr. Alok yesterday, not least the practice of aspiration, rejection, and surrenders. Very clear that to reach fulfillment in the integral yoga, which is the subject of this particular session, requires a massive preparation. There are no shortcuts in our sadhana. Everything, down to the tiniest detail, has to be integrated around the psychic being. So a lot of effort has to be expended. But with surrender, we gradually become conscious that ultimately the yoga is not being done by us, ourselves, but through us. Indeed, it is being done by the Mother herself, who is orchestrating everything, every particular circumstance, to propel and facilitate our growth. But there is a destination in this yoga and a glorious conclusion. Words cannot really describe, give justice to it. We just have to collaborate and see what emerges. So this session is about the fulfillment of the integral yoga. So over to you, Dr. Alok.
Namaste. So as we have seen some of the key processes, as you mentioned, James, of which surrender is the beginning, surrender is the path, surrender is the grand culmination. We can also see that many of the elements of the old yogas are there. A discernment in the mind, which can distinguish the true from the false, begins to awaken quite early as one sincerely seeks to walk the way. Along with discernment, detachment, inner detachment from the surface world of life, stepping back, seeking for true knowledge, and as a result of it, an opening of faculties of inspiration, revelation. All this is part of the Jnana Yoga, if you may say so. But here the traditional Jnana Yoga ends with self-knowledge, and here it's not just self-knowledge, but also world knowledge, because we have to deal with the world, and it has to be, the dealing has to be no more based on our ignorant way of dealing. So as a result of this process, sooner or later, a mind of light, as the Mother has and Shubhendra has said, under the influence of the action of the supramental consciousness, which is already active upon Earth, begins to form, begins to emerge rather. And with that, a new process, a new way of understanding and dealing with the world begins. So this yoga is not a world shunning asceticism, but not even just a reorientation of our life in a new way to the old world. It is not even a new conception. It is an entirely new kind of knowledge, a new understanding which sees at one glance all the forces that we, the creation, which impel, push us and push human beings to act. It brings in a very different way of dealing with them based on something which can be called as truth, understanding. So the elements of Gyan Yoga, but taken to its completeness, and all comprehensive wisdom begins to awaken. Obviously, it takes time. I'm saying this in one short sentence. Similarly, a new, not just God knowledge, if I may say so, but also God love, which is the, the path of bhakti that begins to awaken. Now, here again, unlike the traditional bhakti where one is shut inside one's temple or busy adoring the deity in the heart or in, outside, this love begins to become universalized, and one begins to feel, if the vision develops, even see the divine presence in all things. So the dealing with creatures becomes so much more easier, smoother, with no rough edges. Right now, when we deal with human beings, there is this ego front which creates with sharp edges. Some egos are rounded, some are sharp, some are very barbed wires, so they prick, and we know what human relations turn into. But when we begin to see the divine in others, the beauty in others, the beauty of the divine, the love of the divine, we can pierce behind the appearances. And true love has a chance of establishing itself. And with that true love comes the gift of harmony, comes the joy of relationships, and with not just human beings, with all the shades of light. So this love in this yoga is not just turned to the divine within, but universalizes into creation. So again, we see it's an all-comprehensive love. Similarly, the elements of the work, Karma Yoga, as we said yesterday, is there. But here again, normally in ordinary Karma Yoga, we do the works dedicated to the divine. But the works, the choice of works, and the way of work continues to be our old ignorant way. Say, for example, if I'm a doctor, I continue to prescribe medicines and diagnose, understand a client based on the book or the technical knowledge which I have received from my training. But inwardly, I can free myself of the craving for rewards, practice it in a nishkam way through an offering, surrender, which is what traditionally Karma Yoga is. But here, again, with this new kind of knowledge, there emerges a new kind of action, a right action as it is called, and it's difficult to put it in any system or slot. So it's no more like I must act this way in a standardized way, standardized technique. One may still use the medication, but it's based on a completely different understanding of creation, of people whom we deal with, and even new ways, new faculties can come. I have seen so often. Again, they can't be put into a system. For instance, healing, expression, teaching, all these are, of course, soft subjects, easy subjects. But even in politics, in business, a new kind of inner sense can awaken, which helps us understand what's happening in the world and how we can deal with it. And it applies to all the words, all the works, including bathing, including food. So everything, it's a whole comprehensive package. So again, here, a large field of divine works opens before us. Again, as I said, it's a journey. But the key point of this journey, the first station, which we must discover and identify with, is the psyche. So I don't want to discuss about what are the experiences when one, identifies with the psychic being and one opens to the overhead planes, or when the inner centers open. All these things happen in this yoga, because the moment the mind reads about these experiences or hears about them, mind has a tendency to form those experiences and present it to us. Equally, the vital can trick us by all kinds of visions and voices, which are normally considered as if there is a progress in yoga. But the fundamental progress in yoga can be found in our own subjective being. A growing peace, as I said, an urge for progress, a constant state of inner felicity, an inner joy, an urge to give oneself, a sense of wideness, of a new kind of knowledge which comes in through inspiration, revelation, intuition, that begins to flower. This efflorescence is what is the crux of the change, not visions and voices which may come. That all this is a package. So, but it's better not to know about these things. They should happen spontaneously, nor one should seek or hanker after these things. Because once the psychic door opens, then there is a communication between the divine and this nature directly. All other means are indirect. The divine acts but through the doors of ignorance, veils of ignorance. That's why the divine action gets distorted in them. But if the psychic door opens, then there is a psychic discernment, which is different from the buddhi, which we find in the Gita's yoga, by witnessing, by the surface mind or the mental consciousness drawing inwards and upwards. That's very useful in the beginning. It's one of the first things one should practice. But with the psychic being comes a completely new kind of discernment, which is like a direct God revelation in all our actions. How are we to know it? Well, there are several ways of knowing it. Always, God knowledge brings peace, it brings certitude, and one can see it. It's something which grows as one practices, puts into practice. It's not like it comes written with a label, this is God knowledge, it's not. But invariably, peace is a sign that the divine presence is around. Just as joy is a sign that the Divine Mother's movement is taking place within us. So along with the mind of light, a life of rhythmic force begins to develop. So all these are changes which will take place once the psychic door is open. But most important thing is that we no more identify ourselves with the mind, life, body, the surface personality, but we know, and this is not a mental knowledge, we know ourselves as the eternal portion of the eternal, a child newborn of the divine. This is the crux of the whole. Once this has happened, and this may happen at any point, it's not like, because we don't know what journey we have covered behind us. So while it is true that the whole map is being described, but we may have picked up the thread because it's already 100 years plus of the integral yoga, nearly 100 years, 1926, if we see that Aurobindo started accepting disciples. So we don't know where we have been, and so sometimes the threads are picked up very early, and more I see people much earlier, they end up discovering at least the psychic essence, and of course later identifying with the psychic. So once this happens, then the doors open to what Aurobindo calls as the higher planes of consciousness, spiritualization, meaning thereby we come in contact with higher and higher modes or ways or levels of the mind. And this is known as ascent. Now, ascent doesn't mean that consciousness comes out of the body and ascends. Now, consciousness may come out of the body, but that's not what is important in this yoga. It's not really important. But the mind suddenly starts looking at things in a very different. It's a change which comes. And there is what is called as a reversal of consciousness. Right now, we are looking at things from the surface and trying to understand what's going on inside. Now, here it is as if one were inside and starts looking at the surface. That's why the mother has used the word that these experiences take place in the fourth dimension. And again, not entering into what fourth dimension is. It's literally seeing things from inside out, as if the whole bag has been turned from within outward. So all this new knowledge begins to pour as the higher and higher planes open, and there is no end to the discoveries one makes. And then, of course, there is the final state, which is the supramental transformation. Now, this yoga, very interestingly, as of now, doesn't have an endpoint. Many people get very anxious about it. Well, if you jump into a river, from this bank to that bank, you have to reach. Even if you take the other course, from Gangotri to Ganga Sagar is the journey. But this is ocean. So why there is no end point? Because once the doors of the finite open to the infinite, there is no end to what can happen. And this is something which actually is not only humbling, it makes us feel like a child, like an eternal youth, because constantly the divine is revealing himself in new ways through the smallest circumstance, situation, and which makes it so wonderful. Now, of course, having said that, there are many endpoints in the traditional yoga, which in this yoga, we just pass by the way. So one passes by that state of inner peace, that state of what is called as mukti, where one is freed from identification with the limited personality and discovers there is the annulment of many of these, the karmic load, all this one experiences. So when we say there is no end point, it doesn't mean that the end points of traditional yoga we do not pass by, opening into the cosmic consciousness, all this. So I'm not getting into it, but the main important thing is that when the psychic being begins to become the leader of the journey instead of the human mind, more and more one refers here This is the seat of the soul. This is the seat of the divine presence. And there's a shift from the mind, which is all the time engaged in analyzing, trying to understand things in its own little way, hitting or missing. Now there is a psychic discernment, psychic knowledge, psychic love, psychic impulsion to act, even in the very physical. All this begins to happen, and this is where we speak of the sunlit path. Once that happens, surrender, self-giving, all this becomes natural, as if this is the way to live and there is no other way. So this is the broad canvas. What about the small little details? Now, this journey so far has been described as something which is inward. Are there external aids? Plenty. Because Aurobindo and the mother knowing what the way is, one of them which should be included in our everyday routine. Often people ask, what is the daily routine of a sadhak? When each one has his own. What are the rituals he should be engaged in? Each one has his own. One may or may not, as we discussed yesterday. So there are people who go to the mother's picture and do pranam every day. I do it myself. I find it wonderful. But it's not like if you don't have a picture, you cannot be doing the. Yet their photographs are tremendous help. How they are a help, the mother herself has said, Shubhanda said that the mother has put something of herself in these photographs. So these photographs are imprints of their living presence. Something of them is in their photograph. So imagine being surrounded by their photographs. Imagine, having a photograph by your side. So this external aid, very concrete. It's not just for memory. Many people say, oh, this meant for memory. It's not meant for memory. It has its own concrete action. So apart from their photographs, there is, of course, the mother's music, Sunilda's music, mother's voice. There are plenty of recordings. They carry their own vibration. They carry their own power. And if one has nothing to do, one can just listen to them when one comes back to home. Instead of switching on the television, if one can listen to some of these snippets, music, and flow into it, let it enter inside. It's so wonderful. If one is going in the car, one can tune into all these things. So there are a host of different types of music, mother's music and Sunilda's music, with Savitri readings in the mother's voice. And then there are a number of passages read by them, which are all wonderful. So this is another very concrete help. One of the most concrete help is, I'm talking of concrete in the sense of external, is ashram. And Aurobindo spoke, I'm not talking of ashram as an institution, organization, or the human atmosphere. All that is a different story. But visit to the ashram. And Aurobindo has said that it is necessary for many sadhaks to return to this place of central influence. So he has used the word, this is a place of central influence. The mother has herself said that the samadhi is the place where their light, their consciousness, the supramental light is at its intensest. So to visit the ashram is to get recharged. Sure, with those words, people come here, they get recharged and go back to wherever they are to continue the practice of yoga. So coming to ashram as and when possible, ASAP, don't wait for somebody to buy the ticket. People often say when the mother calls me, well, what more she will do? She's not going to send you a flight ticket. She may do that, but well, we can buy a ticket and come. So it is a concrete help. And this is the third. Then there are special days and special occasions. Now here there is a little bit of tricky things. Nowadays, the way these special days are being celebrated outside, that's not how Aurobindo and the mother wanted it. They wanted it to be a quiet affair. These are days when there are special descents. One of the best days which can give a great help to us in the yoga is our own birthday. So the mother speaks about how to observe the birthday, because that day our soul can take a leap. So normally people have party, do the cake cutting. At least some people nowadays, under the influence of Bhartiyata in the right way, they don't blow the candles. They sort of at least light up the candles. But in our own tradition, we used to have these prayers, and we used to spend those days very, very beautifully. So that's how it should be spent. Not partying. If one is still keen to party, one can do it some other day. But that day should be spent in quiet receptivity. So she has spoken so much about it. Flowers, blessing packets. There are small little things which here they have left for us to really, they touch, physical touch in so many ways. Because for the body, it's a great help to receive the physical touch. And of course, relic center and centers where one can engage in work, relic center where something of their physical presence is there with the relics. It's a vast subject, but I'm just touching upon the help that they have given to mankind in a very external way. And one of the most concrete aids, of course, is their writings. So every day in our daily routine, we should include something of their writings. And my favorites are prayers and meditation. And Savitri, especially Savitri, needs a mention. The mother has said that somebody who reads Savitri, reading alone can take us to the highest transformation without the need of an external guru. And she went on to say that Savitri is the mantra of transformation. So in every yoga, we have a mantra. So here there is, the whole book is a mantra of transformation. Aurobindo has brought down the vibrations of the highest planes as far as they could be accommodated in a string of words in a poetic form, and he has put it there. And so reading Savitri, maybe a passage, a page, and writing it, because when we write it, there is an additional circuit formed from the mind through the hands, and then reflecting upon it, meditating upon it in quietude. So Savitri and prayers of meditations. Prayers of meditation are also very practical guide. And of course, volume 3, 4, all the volumes of the mother's writing, letters on yoga. Just this is a very simple way of coming in contact with the mother and Aurobindo consciousness. After all, what is yoga? Yoga is union with the divine, but it starts with some kind of contact. It's like, how do we feel happy when we receive a letter? So, from a dear friend. So a very dear friend, you get a letter. Nowadays, of course, message. So when you see a message, suddenly your heart leaps, because the memory, the love, all this comes, suddenly gets activated. So even after one has read and reread, there is no end to this. I know Jugalda, who had read Aurobindo's works 22 times. He could remember left and right and center. And during the last 2 years of his life, I told him that, how are you trying to spend your days now? Because he voluntarily took leave from, he was the registrar of Aurobindo International Center of Education in knowledge, which is the highest thing. So I asked him, what are you planning to do? He said, no, I want to read Aurobindo for the next 2 years. So I asked him that you have read and you have understood everything. He said, no, I want to read again just for the joy of it. So the next 2 years, literally 2 years. And after that, one day he, with letters on yoga open before him, his head was on the book and he had left the body. So, just for the joy of it, I know people who left their body with mother's prayers and meditation on their heart. Not that they knew they are going to leave and picked up the book, but they were reading and they left it. So there are so many beautiful things in this journey which one discovers as one goes by and by. So every little thing which makes us connect with the mother. And that's what I suppose the purpose of these talks, webinars are. I take them not as webinars or talks, but as yagya. So if something can help us to connect with the mother, it's wonderful. And if it cannot, however small it may be, that's how one has to look upon it. And if something does not help us to connect with the mother, rather comes as a veil, one should be equally careful. For instance, one may come to the ashram and meet people. So there are all kinds of people, because mother has called all samples and specimens. And you may meet somebody who may say, I have gone beyond Aurobindo. So, or who may throw all kinds of things. So there is no need to, one should avoid. It's very important, because human contact can bring in a lot of beautiful things, but rather few beautiful things and a lot of filth. So often there is, it comes mixed. So one should be careful. So these are the basically small little things which tie up the ends of the yoga until whole life becomes a yoga. One wakes up in the morning, expresses a prayer of gratitude. All these are there in mother's works. I'm just tying the knots in different places. She says, when you wake up in the morning, express a prayer of gratitude. Of course, gratitude, like love, it's not something mechanically that I have to do. My way is I let the spontaneous prayer emerge from the heart. There is no standard prayer. And then I would write maybe a line. The line could be, Mother, I love you. Thank you, Ma, for loving. Thank you, Ma, for waking me up for this day. or some other experience, or something is tormenting us, something is troubling us, right? This makes a contact. It doesn't matter whether the prayer is granted or not. It's really not important. Prayer is a means of bringing our human consciousness into contact with the divine. Whether it should be granted or not will depend on the omniscient wisdom. There are things which may believe that I must get, but divine knows better. So that's where trust and surrender comes in. So prayer in the morning, then one offers the day as one goes to the washroom as much as possible. Maybe one can put some nice mother's music around and try to remember. I'm not saying that it'll be ideal this way, but I'm just saying this would be a beautiful thing. Before we go out, just a few minutes. Here we have the great fortune of going to the samadhi and meditating before we begin the work, before we go to the departments. Earlier, we used to have balcony darshan. So what was the idea? Centering the life around them. So in our own little places, we can just pray to the mother, sit quietly, offer the whole day, all the activities. Let her know our appointments before somebody else, and then go to. Then in the office also, it can be done like as doctors, you have an appointment diary. So I used to keep for a long time a diary where I would, it's not the appointment diary, but diary for the mother to know, with mother's picture. And these are the people who are going to come. When there was a nut case, a difficult case, I would write, mother, this is the difficulty. Now, of course, it's got inbuilt into the system, but it's something very helpful. Mother, those who are doing business, this profit loss, everything, nothing to be hidden. Human relationship, mother, I think I have got attracted towards someone and it's distracting me. Tell her, don't, she never judges, she never condemns. She will help us to come out of things. But we should be sincere and honest. That's what she says. Don't try to give a nice cover. So be sincere and honest. She will help us because human life is full of many things. And each of these can become a means of yoga if we take it in the right way. Then, of course, during the work, there will be many, many moments when there will be nothing. Sometimes there is a lot of rain, patients may be less, or people at a shop may be less, or we are given work in the workplace, there may be less. So she has even said that during those moments, instead of just wasting our time in calling all kinds of things, people, or whiling it away, just sit quietly for a few moments. Contemplate the purpose of life, just contemplate her presence. Maybe keep a photograph on the table. It's a great help because it creates an atmosphere. So during those moments, fill the moments with glimpses of them. I used to keep the Life Divine and Savitri on my table, and of course a picture and her music, and I had surrounded with some nice little quotations. Many of the patients said, sir, after reading these quotations, we feel so much better. I said, so much less work for me. Mother is doing that work. So I'm saying this is just, there are so many ways of doing it given these situation and circumstances. Just keeping some time sure with those books, they give a lot of nourishment. So surround ourselves with them. So this brings us into contact. Then when people, you will receive from the world, somebody writes that, so-and-so I've done, I only had love in my heart, but so-and-so has criticized me so much. So I tell him, you are in good company of Rama and Krishna and Aurobindo and the mother, in the sense that in this world, nobody is there whom everybody will love or everybody will hate. There will always be some people who will love, some people who will hate. Take all this and offer it, phool or kaate, flowers and the brickbat, offer it at her feet. And we need to understand that if somebody is criticizing me, is there something which is true? I need to learn. Maybe sometimes there may be blind spots, all of us with blind spots. So is there something which I need to learn? I've seen sometimes children say something and it suddenly flashes across you. Yeah, perhaps this is something which I had missed noticing about myself. And one improves it. So one is happy each time one discovers something which is like a dark spot. And on the other hand, if there is no merit in all that, just offer it to her. How does it matter? Only the opinion of the divine. And fortunately, he has no opinions. He knows us. He doesn't have opinions. Oh, he did this act. I made a mistake of drawing him to the path. Look here, what he has turned out to be. Nothing like that. She has drawn us. She knows everything about us, much more than we know. And therefore, she will handle it. But we have to allow her to handle it. We have to open that part. So it's one thing that people say, oh, mother knows everything. No. Yes, she knows everything. But when we say from our side, we open that part to the mother and allow her light to act directly. Otherwise, if we take this attitude, mother knows everything, then also she will act. But now she will bring out that part which we were hiding under very nice, neat covers. Mother, I have no attachment. She, oh, is it so? Okay, fine. so rather than that, it's much better to say to her all that we have, all that we are inside. So that's how the mother says very beautifully, offer all you have. That is the beginning. What is meant by all I have? Should I just give away all my money and become an ascetic, leave my house? No, it means from today, this house that I live in, this room where I dwell, this little corner in my house, this little bed and table and chair, maybe that is the mother's. It's no more mine. This money that I have is no more mine. So I must use it in a way that would be befitting a mother's child. I should not be just throwing it away on all kinds of things. So that is how those who have walked ahead have shown us the path. When I cook in the kitchen, it should be like I'm preparing a prasad for mother and Shri. Many of these things were there inbuilt within the Indian thought, like in Sanatana Dharma, which we have lost. But here we are enlarging its scope. Cooking, especially. It is mother who is, imagine, every day will be prasad. How beautiful it will be. Now, again, people may like it, not like it. It's their problem. It's not our problem. So every little thing, sweet little thing becomes a means of coming in touch and contact with the divine. Then again, when we come back, spend a few moments just to cleanse oneself inwardly and outwardly, so that all that we have brought, truckloads of all kinds of things, formations, I said all kinds of energies, just stretch out and give it to her and call her light to cleanse it. She will do it. She is a mother to her wants, a friend in her difficulties, a tranquil counselor and mentor, chasing away with her smile the clouds of gloom that assail the seeker. So once we have give all you have, next is give all you do. And that includes everything. Sleep, waking, dream, walking, talking, listening, eating, drinking, everything, and a host of other activities. Going to the market, shopping, more and more to become aware of this, driving. So all the time, dressing up. So everything, give all you do. And then, most important, surrender. Give all you are. So give all you have, that is the beginning. Give all you do, that is the progress on the path. Give all you are is the culmination of surrender. So what is meant by giving all we are? Here comes the issue. We all have a certain kind of what is loosely called as character, which is formed by forces of heredity, environment, our own past, many things. And we hold on to it. No, this is my way. I'm going to do this way only. Others have to adjust to my way. But here, we don't know whatever movements we have. They may be good, bad, without judging. If we judge, we will never be able to offer. But without judging it, of course, each one will have his own way of navigating. Keep giving it to mother so that she can change it. Not hold on to those habits of being, of character, of ways of understanding, ways of dealing with life, that, well, this is what I am, and I just can't be otherwise. Rather, we should say, this is what I am, a bundle of mixed bag. I don't even know whether they are good or bad. In fact, there are many things which are good in a context and very bad in another. So obstinacy can be very good if one turns to the divine and obstinately follows the path. Obstinacy can be very problematic if one is obstinately holding on to a wrong movement. So many of the things within us, many of them have a possibility of change. So when we keep offering without trying to cover up, justify, one of the problems that we all have is constant self-justification inbuilt in the fabric of humanity. And all the time, it is so instinctive that every act we must justify. Now, I'm not saying we should uh, condemn ourselves. No, we should be non-judgmental about ourselves. But at the same time, we should know that this is a movement of nature within me, and it may be a hindrance on the path. And therefore, I will offer it because it tends to come. For instance, I may have ambition. I must be honest to recognize it. And then I need to offer it, Mother. I have a lot of ambition. Mother, I have greed for money. I have greed for food. And pray for the change. Now, some things will change early, some things will take long, but the journey itself becomes fascinating. Why it becomes fascinating? Because we are calling the Mother all the time. And when we are in difficulties and distress, instantly we should call them. When we are ill, call the Mother. Call her to heal. Some people start thinking, oh, it is my karma, I did something wrong. Whatever it be, she is there to help us. It's a bond we have to form with her, not a bond of fear. Fear and favor. That's old word dealing with the divine. But a bond of living love. How do we deal with a mother, own physical mother? This is something much more. Because here is a mother whose love is endless, unconditional. Even human mothers expect something. Here is a mother who expects nothing. That's how she has said when she was asked that, what do you expect from Mother? What can we expect from you? She said everything. There are instances where Mother has actually helped in people's marriage, even sent one of her saris, very humanly, human touch. She is at once human and divine. So in everything, one can expect. Mother, what do you expect from us? She says nothing. Then the third question was, Mother, do you think humanity is fulfilling your expectations? She said, since I expect nothing, I cannot answer this question. But it is important to form a loving and living relation. That's what is important. Not just a photo frame where we put the agarbatti and mala. We can do that, of course, if we wish to. But more importantly, that we are walking with her. She's walking with us wherever we are going. And in times of distress, one should learn to call immediately. It should become inbuilt within our system. Ma, ma, ma. How to call her? Doesn't matter. I have had a very interesting in a school in Odisha, in Dalichoda. So they were children, I think 7th or 8th standard. One of them asked me, what language does the mother know? So I said, you people should answer. So one of them said, I think she knows Odia. Odia. I said, oh, wow, why do you say so? She said, every time I pray to her, I know only Odia. So every time I pray to her in Odia, she responds. I said, yes. I said, but do you think she will not listen if I am a Gujarati or Bengali or Hindi or English or French? She said, no. Instantly she understood. Because she knows our heart. And there's so many instances. I could go on for hours talking of that wonderful relation. Whatever way, mother, ma, amma. I know if sometimes there's a nice bhajan, Tamil, they call mama, amma. It's so beautiful. Doesn't matter. Mira, ma, Mira, Sharanam Brahma. Oh, mother, she knows. It's not, yoga is not a mechanical routine ritual. The divine doesn't care about it, but a living walk through real time. So nobody can predict. That's why mother uses the word, it's an adventure. Because nobody can predict all the things that will happen. No book can tell us. But if we have picked up just this one thing, calling the mother, we are through. So I started with this, that, initiation is recognition of the mother. And the path is offering to the mother and calling the mother. And there is beautiful Sri Aurobindo's letter. The mother is the path and the mother is the goal. And there is very beautiful conversation. It's towards the end, and means I'm talking of late 60s, I think. The disciple asked the mother, Mother, it's a very vast yoga. All this aspiration, rejection, surrender, ascent of consciousness, descent also takes place. These which can be experienced first as a living thrill passing through the body, and then of course the centers open. So, Mother, it's such a vast yoga. Tell us at least one method. She says, Sri Aurobindo has told you, open to me. I'll do this yoga for you. So my body has been given for this purpose. No, mother, still we want to do something. You tell us at least one method. After little bit of coaxing her, she said, okay, one method. When the disciple says, he says, the mantra, japa, call my name. This is the one mantra. When Sri Aurobindo writes in a letter, there is no method in this yoga except to take the mother's name and mine. Another place he says that all can be done by the divine, the ways removed, the nature purified, transformed, everything. And it does happen that way if the disciple can open himself in surrender. So basically, the mother's name is the ship on which we go toward the supramental state. Of course, when we do our own little effort, it means we are showing an adhesion to the divine. And it will hasten the process, make it a little more smoother, make it a lot more easier, because it becomes a conscious yoga. But even if we do not do, and we just call the mother's name, I can only share one of the, when I'd come and I used to ask people, and they would say often, I'd read much of it, and I still wanted to. So everybody would say, take the mother's name. So I remember once, Chote Narayanji was telling me, of course, must be in his 80s. He said he was narrating an experience where a person was having a lot of difficulties, this, that, 100 things. And he told him that, Mataji ka naam lijiye, call the mother's name, take the mother's name. And I have read his account that in 6 months, everything was fine. So I asked him, Chote Narayanji, is it that simple? He said, yes, it is that simple. Now he had decades of experience behind it. Today I can say it, that yes, it is that simple. That time it sounded strange. Still people ask me, Alok, is it really that simple? So at one level, if you look at the goal of the it's Mother and Sri Aurobindo wanted to make it as easy as possible, basically. This is not to say that we should, okay, fine, I'll do anything and everything. Try doing it. You'll forget the mother's name. So even to remember her requires a certain kind of inner voice. It's not easy to remember the divine. So just calling her name, Ma, going through life, and she'll take her. She wants it that. She says, I am not here as a guru. When people told her, you're supposed to say this and guide this and make these actions, he said, you are the guru. See, he said, thank you for showing my place and bringing me down a few steps below. I never took myself as a guru, but as the universal mother. So she is here as mother, relate with the mother, connect with the mother, love the mother. And I would say, or before I say what I am going to say, just one experience of Nalnita. One of those sadhaks whom Sri Aurobindo has said that if he's like the Manas Putra of Shiv. And if he doesn't know the path, who else knows? That kind of understanding. He was with Sri Aurobindo, like Arjun, right from revolutionary days. And once, I think 80s before, a few years before he passed physically. And his realizations, can one speak about it. So he was asked in the ashram theater after some program, Nalita, why don't we close it with you say something? So Nalita went, took the mic, paused for a few moments and said, love the mother, and came back. Love the mother. Babaji Maharaj, who had all the experiences of all the deities of the avatars in Sri Aurobindo, who was a Siddha yogi in his own right before turning to Sri Aurobindo. He was a guru. And yet he said, I am still feeling something is incomplete. He wanted the guru of gurus. And then, of course, Mother and Sri Aurobindo discovered him and came. And, of course, again, another stalwart. And people would ask him. He used to advise only two things. For the individual, Naam Jap. And in Odisha, you will see a lot of people doing Naam Jap. And for the collectivity, Pati Chakra, study circle. You don't have to start centers and big things. Just a group of people who study and try to put into practice. As simple as that. And all those who have gone before, Champaklal, everybody. So to close this, before we have questions, I said that, there is something which Aurobindo teaches. Nolida said, love the mother. Love the mother is also not easy. We don't even know human love. We love with all kinds of expectation things, which is okay. That's how our ignorant love is. But love the mother is a tall order, perhaps one of the tallest order. So Aurobindo makes it simple. He says, know that the mother loves you and you belong to her. Base your life on this one single truth and all will be fine. This we can take as the ultimate mantra. Know that the mother loves you. We cannot love you, but she loves us. That's why she has called us. That's why she wants us to be risen to a greater life. What else is it but love? Know that the mother loves you and you belong to her. Base your life on this one single truth and all will be well. So with this, with the mother in her heart, the doors open one after another. When, how, we are not here to monitor or discuss about that. For each one, it will be a different journey, but the journey is taking place in real time. Each of us is our past, each of us is our own unique future. We should never try to imitate somebody else in yoga, in sadhana. But the core point, the fundamental thing is mother. This yoga begins with mother. As long as one is not yet open to the mother, Aurobindo's letters, where it says, if you open to me, you will receive little. But if you open to the mother, then you will receive 100%. Then he goes on to say, if somebody is open to me and not to the mother, it means he is not really open to me. Such is the identity of consciousness. But one can be open to the mother and one doesn't need to open separately to Aurobindo. These are Aurobindo's letters, where he says the mother proposition is true. But if somebody opens to me and doesn't open to mother, has resistance. This is important because in the ashram context, there were people like that who went away, left. And the whole yoga went down. So open to the mother, to love her. And if we cannot even, at least to know that the mother loves us. Above all, it's her journey in us, in each one of us. And to hand over ourselves the responsibility of our lives and do a little bit of our own self-enabling sadhana, as Aurobindo said, is the key to the yoga. So today is the last day, so I'll stop here. And if there are questions, we have 10 minutes, I would like to take. Of course, the WhatsApp group, please feel free to put any question.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Sir, there are two things which come to my mind.
Yes, please.
One is I've written it, how to perceive or rather know or be aware of that the mind is not the final judge, and how to gauge that the consciousness behind the mind as it is very supple and open to receive the promptings. How to do this? How to know or
So
gauge?
the first is a very easy one. I mean, very frankly, when I had entered medical school at 16, 17, I had understood mind doesn't know. So anything in life, see, what does mind know? It knows it through sensory input. And if you just take pure physics, we know, it's all appearances. So it's all a science of appearance. And when it comes to knowing the subjective domain of people, how dangerous it becomes. Every husband claims he knows his wife's mind and falls for that. Every wife believes that she knows her husband. After many years of living together, you may know, but that's because of identity of consciousness. Otherwise, there's no way. We don't know actually. Very frankly, we can't. The ultimate acme of the mind's ignorance is I don't know what's going to happen the next moment. Of course, we live with trust. Tomorrow I have an appointment, so we live with trust. But if you ask me, what is the certainty, the 100% certainty, I'll say no. There's no way that the mind can. So this first part is very easy. So once we are convinced that the mind cannot know, and let alone judge spiritual things. Then the next step starts. And then the mind goes into seeking for a greater knowledge. Now, the mind should have this aspiration. The aspiration may start, as I said, in the heart, but in the mind itself, that once one admits, there is a humility which comes and one seeks to know. And then as a result of that, a time comes, the Vedas speaks of rubbing the two woods, one lower and one higher. One of the ways is one starts by reading, as I said. Here is the mind, limited finite mind, in in contact with the infinite mind through the medium of finite words. So it becomes one of the easiest. For me, it worked like that. So for me, it was like I must read everything on Mother and Shiv. It was like a fire. So I kept reading. That time it was like, I want to know more. I want to know more. I didn't know how to know more, but the books were there. So even on the washroom, I used to sit and read Mother and Shiv. So standing in the queue, I would read Mother and Shiv. So this is how it, and a time comes because the mind is coming in contact. A door will one day open. Then yes, the pourings will start. How to know that they are inspiration, revelation, they carry a certain quality. Not only are they spontaneous, they bring in the joy, because it's any creativity brings a state of joy. The moment there is joy, the moment there is a settled peace, the moment there is a certitude, and yet one should not be just, there should be always consciousness which watches, because many times these inspirations do get mixed. Intuitions can get mixed. So as one develops more and more, one begins to see that, well, they were mixed, and consciousness, as it grows more and more clear by coming in contact with the mother, as the obscurity gets more and more removed, one begins to see more and more clearly. It's like a baby which comes out of the womb, begins to see things, but it cannot see for long, so it closes the eyes. And it keeps turning to the mother. Some children you must have seen, as they grow up, they still turn to their mothers as if for approval. So we can turn to the mother for approval, in the sense that we can refer it to her, that this what is coming to me as a deep inspiration. I don't know. One should never have that thinking, I know it all. So yes, with that humility that I really don't know, but this coming to me as an inspiration, I'm offering to you. This is arising within me as if it is your will. So one can start with that and then offer and move ahead. And then slowly, if one takes the journey, it becomes more and more clear, clarity grows, the sight begins to grow, the obscurities are removed, and then one sees better and better, and there is no limit to this better. So that is the more quiet we become, the more we'll receive these inspirations. The more troubled and restless we are. So always one thing which should be a kind of benchmark. If I am very agitated in the mind, just first thing is to quieten the mind. Whatever means. One should not act under, even if there is a genuine inspiration, it will get so badly mixed up in an agitated mind. So I follow this practice that sometimes even when the mind is quiet, the thought comes, and I know it is agitating my mind. I want to express it, and it looks like a very smooth flow of thought. I could write an article on it, but I wait for the quietude to set again, and then see if I still have the urge to write in a state of peace. So yes, right. Same with the action. If there is restlessness, agitation, whatever good words we may say, it is desire. So we may use the word, oh, my soulmate has come, oh, this is the job I must take. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but restlessness in the vital is a sign that there is desire which is superactive. So we should wait for the vital to become. Keep praying for quiet. When the vital is quiet, maybe one will do the same thing, but the mixture of desire has been removed. I think that I mentioned that on the WhatsApp. So always establish peace and quietude, and in that peace and quietude, in a state of growing equanimity, the true inspiration and intimation will begin to come.
Sir, the Savitri, if I understood, is aiming at, it refers, what I understand, is the problem of conquest of death. What about that, sir?
That's a huge subject. I think I can refer to all the talks on Aurobindo related to it. But very broadly, the problem of death and the conquest of death is in 3 steps. First is to discover the immortal soul within us. The moment we discover, we are freed from all fear of death. We know that we don't die. We can even become aware of a past. Glimpses, fragment, they come only when the psychic being has been discovered. And we begin to become aware of the future as it is shaping. So discovery of the psychic being is first conquest over death. Because I know that whether the body breaks or not, I continue. The second is opening the doors to infinity. That's another way. This is how the Vedic rishis went. They were in quest of immortality. The last is the molding of the mental substance, the vital substance, and finally the body. Aurobindo spoke of 3,000 years for it to happen. So, Mother has reduced the time, maybe 1,000 years. So, physical conquest of physical death is a program which is going on, and I've probably given a talk also, or something written, that there are many hints and actual evidences that it is happening in that direction. But for the moment, we can say it is a program of the future towards which we are moving. But this conquest will only come as a result of vital and mental and vital transformation. Imagine that body is immortal, but the vital is untransformed. This is what the Asuras tried. Hiranyakashipu and Ravan tried that. That's not granted, because then it will be dangerous. So as a result of progressive transformation from above downwards, ultimately the body will be transformed. It's inevitable in the very logic of things. Even common sense would tell us that, but that's a different vast subject. And Savitri is about, yes, conquest of death, but what is more important is by the power of love. Not inline love, conjugal love. Conjugal love means human love in all its shades. Only conjugal love is human love in all its shades. So this conjugal love has to transform. That means human love with all its aspects has to be transformed into divine love. Once that is upgraded, transformed, then the rest is. And of course, we have the Divine Mother who is going to do it for us. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I have
Yes.
a question, Alok.
Yes, please.
Yeah. What is Sri Aurobindo and Mother's view on having a living guru in integral yoga?
Yes. So, namaste. Thank you for that question. I think in the very first day I mentioned that in the integral yoga, I'm talking of integral yoga, but let me touch a little more background about it. Even in traditional Vedantic yoga, there is no need of a living guru. And Aurobindo speaks about it. I know nowadays there are all kinds of things about gurus, but in Vedantic yogas, one picks up a book, say the Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, the Gita, meditates upon these verses and has faith in wherever they have come from, and the doors open. And even when he talks about the guru, external guru, Aurobindo says one can draw inspiration from a master of the past. Aurobindo himself found Shri Krishna guiding his own yoga. So if you really look at it, Shri Krishna is 4,500 years back, and many people have been guided by Shri Krishna. Well, having said that, in Tantra, there is a need of a living guru, which has been now, and that too in certain forms of Tantra, because of the dangers. And the dangers arise because, say, in Kundalini Yoga, the lower chakras may get, we should understand it logically, the lower chakras may get activated, etc., and they can be a problem. So living guru is required. Normally, such people go to the mutt and they practice. There are certain dangers. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, there is the Tantra element, but the chakras open from above downwards. So it's a safe process. The third aspect about a living guru is that human beings need still someone to whom they can write, although everything Mother and Sri Aurobindo have written. So Sri Aurobindo says, and I would say that those who need in this yoga, not a living guru in that sense, but yes, one may use that word, somebody, some human beings through whom they can connect better to the Mother. It is permissible in this yoga, and it comes. So Sri Aurobindo, the Mother, can come in the form of a human being who is on the path and who can sort of be like a mediating instrument. But while it is okay for the seeker, it is dangerous if the person abrogates to himself guruhood. That Sri Aurobindo has again said. So one will find there have been human magnates, human beings who have been, given this, one of the tasks given by the divine, and they do it like a trust in all humility, that this is one of the works they have been given, not as guide of integral yoga, but as a brother maybe who has traveled 4 steps ahead, who is carrying everybody together like that. So to that extent, yes, if there is a need, it will happen. But many don't need it, and it's perfectly. So one doesn't need a living guru, but if the need be there, yes, there are people on the path, but there is no guru as such in integrity. So it's a very thin line. There are people who may be of help on the path, and one can connect with them that, okay, it is through them we are connecting to the Mother and Shiv. But one should always open to the Mother and Shiv and know that their purpose is only to help us bring in contact with Mother and Shiv. They should, it's like they should move aside as early and as far as possible. But if they start into Gurudam and all the paraphernalia that is associated with it, that is dangerous. That is dangerous for both. So in that sense, yes.
I had another question.
Yes, please.
Now, when Sri Aurobindo talks of supramental manifestation, does it mean that it's going to happen in the future, or can we say some yogi like Mahavatar Babaji is already supramental and it will go to the entire race? Is it like that?
Yeah, this was asked to Sri Aurobindo about some of the, of course, Mahavatar Babaji, they didn't take by name, but Paramahansa Yoganandaji, who's followed that line about Kriya Yoga and other yogas. And Sri Aurobindo made it very clear that Chinmay De or dwelling in the subtle worlds for very long, like the Gyan Ganj and Shangri-La and all those things. That is not what he means by supramentalization. And supramentalization is a change of the law of earth nature. It's not about few people who are risen to a great height. But this very physical body, it's something like, let's say, one keeps a dog in the home, and the dog, through contact with the human being, it develops certain ways of understanding what human beings are, how they think and feel. And of course, they can manipulate it also. But still, the dog as a species remains a dog. It remains a canine. It is not transmuted into a human. So similarly, this is a transmutation of the very human species. So of course, this is the, I'm not commenting on a particular specific what's happening in their consciousness. Surely I hope and I believe that they must be receiving. But some of the yogis who were asked about supramental, they didn't quite understand what Sri Aurobindo was speaking. And even someone says, where is the divine got to descend? He is everywhere. And Sri Aurobindo had all these experiences in his kitty bag. So this question was asked to Sri Aurobindo, and he explained it. It is true that the divine is everywhere, but in each plane he manifests himself differently. And what really is the supermind? Supermind is created completely unveiled, not seen through any way, and it's difficult to come in contact with that. And physically, we cannot imagine, that sun coming in contact. So he was also asked about the Vaishnava traditions, where there is a talk about Chinmay De and the body of light. The closest that somebody has come to that is Tailanga Swami of Swami Ramalingam, I think. Swami Ramalingam, not Tailanga Swami, sorry. He lived somewhere nearby in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
Who spoke about the body. He was experiencing certain changes in the body. And he used to say it because of the grace light. And this was reported to the mother, and she said, oh, this is very interesting. And then the mother spoke about certain difficulties, about bones, etc. She remained quiet about it. And he is quite recent. But then he disappeared. His whole body disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean,
At his death, there was no body.
Yes. So meaning thereby that ultimately that supermind or that grace light, ultimately the body couldn't take it and it just vanished, which is, of course, a feat known to yogis, but in a different way. Through Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the body ultimately gets dissolved, like the body of Saint Kabir and others. There are also instances of body remaining for long by the superimposition of the vital plane. So all that is a vast subject. But basically, Sri Aurobindo knew all this, not just mentally, intellectually, having read all this, but had the experience. And that's why he said that the reason why he is striving for the supermind is because it is not something that has been achieved. People asked him about the past yogis and their effort, yogis in the Himalayas helping him. All these questions were put to him. He said, if it was there, I would not spend so much of time, energy, tapasya. When already the path is there, I would take on from there and finish it. So it is something very new. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask the question
Yeah.
now, or is the time over?
Yeah, we can ask one last question we can have probably. Yeah.
Yesterday, you mentioned about rejection of falsehood and hypocrisy from within.
Yes.
So that is something which you do from within. But when you see it in the environment and it kind of triggers you, how to handle that, or what is the correct way to deal with it?
So there are two sides of the question. Hypocrisy, the mother said, the first thing that supermind will throw out of this earth. In fact, the only things. She was asked, what will it throw away from the earth? The mother said that, why should it throw anything? It will put everything in its place. Then she became silent forever. Then she said, okay, one thing that will throw away is hypocrisy. So hypocrisy are the codes of falsehood, show, sham that we, try to project, and plenty of ways it, all kinds of falsehood. So it will throw it away. So this is what we see happening. The inner truth is coming out. And that's why he said we are living in an age when don't do anything which you have to hide from them, because it cannot remain hidden. That's the age. Now, when people are doing well, people do all kinds of things. I suppose we should either stay indifferent. Sometimes it can, I agree, if it's a very close contact. Sometimes suddenly you see it, it may be irritating. Offer them to her and know that divine dwells even in them. It's a practice that one should engage in. Every contrary is an aspect of God's face, and each one is having their own difficulties, going through their own phases. That's how one has to, with a benevolent smile. That's ultimate. Even if an initial reaction comes, offer it and try to bring peace and say that's how this world is, and see all things with a benevolent smile. The more one works on oneself, this automatically develops, because one realizes it's not easy to change human nature. So it's okay. People are what they are, the world is what it is. But we have been shown a light, a way, a path. Let's move on that sunlit path towards the future. Okay, so any other questions, please feel free to put on the WhatsApp. There is no issue at all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, we'll keep the group open for quite a while. So if any questions come to you, please post them on the WhatsApp group, and I'm sure they'll be answered. So thank you very much, Dr. Alok. It's a very insightful and beautiful workshops, really, words to express how grateful we are. So thank you everyone for participating. And I've posted
Thank
feedback
you, everyone.
on the group.
Yes.
So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Until the next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pranam.